Hi, everyone. Welcome to Confidently Be You. My name is Jennifer Shlomovich, and today my special guest is Natalie Fayman from No Limits Coaching. Natalie is a certified life coach who specializes in weight loss, emotional eating, self-sabotage, and stress management. She lost 85 pounds using the mindset techniques she's going to talk about today. She's on a mission to help women who've been torturing themselves with unsustainable diets and miserable workout plans because they just don't know a better way. And today we are going to fix that in our conversation. So, Natalie, welcome. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege.
Yeah, first of all, I can relate to so much of the work that you do because weight loss has and my struggle with food and emotional eating has been a huge part of my life. But before we jump into all of that, what inspired you to get into the work that you do?
Well, I was, and to some extent, I think everybody we never really get over our lifelong habits. I was always an emotional eater. I always struggled with my weight my whole life. I'm going to be 55 this year.
Hmm.
So, out of 55 years, I would say I struggle with my weight at least 45 of those years, and I learned some really bad habits. I learned to comfort myself with food, as a lot of us do. And it just, it accumulates, and you tell yourself a story about how, oh, it's not stopping me from doing any of the things I really want to do. And, I'm still healthy, even though I'm overweight. But then it starts catching up with you. And I felt my body breaking down year after year. It was more and more strange just to do normal daily activities. And, I had kind of hit my peak of, desperation at one point, and I just randomly stumbled across a weight loss group that was run by a life coach, and
Hmm.
that was really my first experience with life coaches, and it was so transformational, completely changed my life. And the thing that really shocked me was the changes that had nothing to do with weight loss. I became so much happier, so much less stressed out, calmer. My relationships got better. I had a more optimistic outlook in the future. And the weight loss was almost like a happy side effect,
Hmm.
because I even stopped really so much paying attention to all the things that I wanted to do to lose weight. And I just focused on self-esteem and learning to love myself again, and learning to forgive myself for my mistakes. And it was a complete accident. Like I just finally discovered that I'm getting rid of all the reasons that I had to soothe myself with food for all these years. And the weight loss just kind of happened all by itself. So that it was so transformational. And I was also kind of at a point where I just really wasn't in love with my career anymore, and I was kind of looking for, like, what do I want to be when I grow up? And
Hmm.
I seeing the changes that happened in my life, and all the other women that were in this weight loss group, seeing them changing their lives, I realized one day I couldn't imagine a better way to spend my life than passing this gift on to other people. So that's how I came to life coaching.
That's an amazing story. Just all of that. And that's the thing. Like, I know in my own struggles with weight, I've been so fixated. Oh, you got to get this food or follow this diet or this trend. And they've all been short term. Like, I've done Slim
Uh,
Fast, I've done South Beach, and I've just, you end up being resentful because you lose some fast weight.
exactly.
And then you get annoyed because you feel like I've deprived myself. Why am I not losing more weight? At least that was my whole mindset. And then I would gain it all back and then some. And then after I had my son, I was over 200 pounds for a period of time. And it took me a few years to lose that. What helped me was we moved from upstate New York to New York City, and I would put my son in the stroller. I would walk everywhere, and I would just change like one meal at a time. Like I changed my breakfast for a period of time, and then I pretty much ate well overall and increased my activity, and I replaced my comfort like snacks because I used to, sitting in a cubicle all day, all you want to do is eat food. So I would slice up an apple, and because I was eating a lot of pieces of something, it gave me that feeling. And without even thinking hard about it, the weight came off because I was focusing on doing activities that I enjoy, just getting out. I think there's this misconception that You have to be out in the gym to lose weight. And hey, joining the gym is great, but there's other ways you can sneak in activity, especially if you're a busy mom, because it's challenging. So if you put your kid in the stroller and just do extra walking, that's one way you can sneak it in.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, the way that you just described is really the secret sauce, making small, sustainable changes, not overwhelming yourself, doing things that are going to fit naturally into your lifestyle, that you're not going to just exhaust yourself out or stress yourself out trying to keep up indefinitely, because it does have to be a permanent change if the weight that you lose is also going to be permanently lost. So many people think, oh, I'm just gonna do all these things and then I can stop doing it when I get to my goal weight, and they don't realize that the the weight that you are now is a result of the lifestyle habits that you have now. So when you
Hmm.
go back to those same habits, you get your same body back. So
Yeah.
anything you do to lose weight, this is one of my 10 commandments of weight loss, by the way, it has to be a permanent change or the weight's going to come back when you stop doing it. So you definitely found the right combination of elements to make it work.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think there's no one size fits all, right? Everyone's different, and what works for one person may not necessarily work, and that doesn't for you, and that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. I think we get
Right.
when we see something being successful for somebody else and that particular thing not working, we can
Mhm.
be so hard on ourselves thinking, well, what's wrong with me? But maybe that's not the right thing.
Right.
And so, what are your 10 commandments for weight loss? That sounds really great.
So I came up with a list of my 10 biggest eureka moments, the all the lessons that I had to learn the hard way. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm super stubborn, and I've always come from the harder, faster, stronger camp, and you just wipe yourself out. You get overwhelmed, you get exhausted, you get frustrated, just like you said. So I came up with a list of these 10 really hard won pieces of wisdom, and my dearest wish is for other people to not have to learn them the hard way like I did. So I'm really grateful that you're giving me the chance to share them today.
Well, thanks for coming here to share them. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about them.
Love it. So, commandment one is consistency beats intensity. This is exactly what I was just talking about. I was always like 150 miles an hour, or it's just not going to work. But when you try to make drastic changes, you overwhelm and exhaust yourself. And then if you can't keep it up, you just end up feeling worse about yourself. And then you're feeling like, oh, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I can't do anything right. And what that does is it just creates more emotional pain. And that's the key. Emotional pain, there's really only one way that a lot of us know how to deal with that, and that's to eat. We've been trained since we were little kids that
Mm.
if we're feeling bad, we come home from school crying, mommy, daddy take us out for ice cream, they give us a cookie. It's always about food. And so we create this association from the time that we're small children that food is comfort, food is love, food makes me feel better. So when you don't like the way that you're feeling, a lot of us, it's the easiest thing in the world. We just reach for food. We don't even think about it. So you're going to notice a common theme with a lot of these commandments of mine, that it's all about alleviating your own stress and your emotional pain so that it reduces your drive to eat. But for this first one, it's super, super important that you not take on too much at once. You want those small, easy changes that are going to fit into your lifestyle without a big struggle, because you need time to kind of accustomize yourself to the new things that you're doing. You don't want it to feel like a burden. You don't want it to feel like a struggle. And you don't want to feel resistance, because if it feels hard, you're always going to be looking for a reason to quit doing it. Oh, it's raining outside, I don't want to go to the gym, or my workout partner bailed on me, or my kids want to order pizza, so I'll just have pizza, whatever it is. If you are feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like you're just working too hard, then you're always going to be looking for a reason to stop doing it. So small steps, watching yourself succeed over time with little easy changes is what's going to build that momentum and the motivation to keep going. So that's my first one.
That's great. And, I think we also have a misconception that it's supposed to feel hard, right?
Exactly.
Like, oh my God, this is too easy. Like, I must
What if
be
it
doing
doesn't
it
have to
wrong.
be hard?
And that's part of our human conditioning also, is we feel
Yeah.
like things. But it doesn't have to be hard. And so I
Mhm.
love that. I think that because again, when that's where that resentment builds. When I've done those other diet plans and it feels too difficult, it's like, oh, I got to keep up with this. Forget it.
Exactly. You know what I realized about halfway through my weight loss journey is you always hear change is hard. Change is not the thing that's hard. It's our resistance to changing that makes it hard.
Mhm.
Once you stop resisting, it just flows like the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah. And then when you find ways to make the change supportive to you, that helps that flow.
Exactly.
Awesome. So yeah, so what's number two?
All right. Second commandment, temporary changes produce temporary results.
Hmm.
So many people, I actually, I joined a bunch of weight loss discussion groups on Facebook just to see what people talk about. And they're talking about fen, all the diet loss, the weight loss drugs, keto, pills, the meal replacement shakes. Some of
Yeah.
them are counting points. Some of them are doing these harsh boot camp workouts. And it's just you're restricting yourself with an arbitrary set of rules that don't really teach you how to change your behavior. And if you feel like, again, you're going to attack this with all this intensity until you just can't keep it up anymore, as soon as you stop doing it, whatever weight you lost because of whatever changes you made is going to start coming back because you haven't changed your habits. You haven't created better tools to manage your emotional needs. And again, it's those negative, painful, uncomfortable emotions that are what drives us to go seek comfort in the freezer or in the pantry. So the solution is don't start doing anything to lose weight that you're not willing to keep up doing for the rest of your life. So it needs to be fun, it needs to be enjoyable, it needs to fit into your lifestyle, and it needs to be easy. It needs to feel easy. And then you can build on it over time once it becomes part of your normal routine. You don't even have to think about it anymore.
That's a great tip. Yeah, absolutely. Like that again, and it ties in nicely with that first one that you brought in. And so, yeah, this is really, really great. And I can certainly relate to when I've had
Yeah,
success
these
with
are all
things.
things I had to learn the hard way, and I just want to spare somebody else from having to make the same stubborn mistakes that I made.
So that's amazing that you've created this work to help other women who are struggling with this because it's a huge struggle. It's a very frustrating.
But it doesn't have to be because, people don't realize why what they're doing isn't working
Right,
because the diet doesn't teach you how to manage your emotions, how to comfort yourself, how to show yourself love without food.
right. There's a lot of mindset work
All
involved.
mindset. It's all mindset, which leads me to commandment number 3. Don't eat diet food.
So
So, when you eat something that you don't even like because you think it's healthy or because somebody else has told you it's healthy, you don't get that same satisfaction that you would get from eating food that you enjoy. It leaves you wishing that you still had something else. It leaves you wanting more. If your food doesn't satisfy you, you're going to keep looking until you find something that does.
right.
I will tell you, I lost my 85 pounds without ever giving up any of my favorite foods. I ate cheesecake, I had buttered popcorn, I drank every day coffee with real whipping cream and cacao butter. I had a 300-calorie cup of coffee for breakfast every single day
Oh
as I
wow.
was losing my weight. So I didn't give up any of my favorite foods. But what I did give up was eating when I wasn't hungry and eating until I had to unzip my pants because I was so stuffed.
Hmm.
So my weight loss coach actually had us do an exercise where we would sit down with our favorite kryptonite food. So for me, it was cheesecake. And you had to sit there for 10 minutes staring at it, smelling it, describing it without ever taking a bite of it, your mouth watering, your stomach growling, and you had to describe the whole experience on paper. And then after 10 minutes, she would let you take one bite, and then you had to like roll it around in your mouth and really like describe the texture and the flavor and the sensations. So we would take one bite every 10 minutes, and this thing went on for like 30 minutes. By the end of 30 minutes, I had taken 3 bites of this cheesecake, which normally I would have demolished in less than 5. And I realized after 3 bites, I was done. Like I felt like there was like this sugary film in my mouth that I didn't really like
Hmm.
anymore. I wasn't getting the same satisfaction anymore.
Oh,
And I
wow.
had gotten my enjoyment from it and I was done. And I put it back in the refrigerator. That would have never happened before.
Wow.
So when you really pay attention to what you're eating and really just squeeze the maximum enjoyment out of it, not only do you find that you eat less, but you also have less of an urge to go looking for something 2 hours later when it's snack time after dinner. So really make sure that you're satisfied with everything you eat. Don't eat anything that you don't like just because you think it's healthy.
That's a great tip. And, you brought up a great point. Yeah, because I don't, nor like I really have to be mindful. Like I try to slow down, but if I'm in a hurry, like if I'm or like the mindless munching at my desk when I'm doing work,
Yeah,
like you can have food and all of a sudden you realize, oh, it's gone. Where did because we
exactly.
don't stop and think. And so that exercise with the cheesecake, it sounds like it gave you a new perspective on
Absolutely.
that
And
food.
I've experienced, I think everybody has experienced the same thing where you're scrolling Facebook, the TV's on, somebody's talking to you in the background, you look down and your plate's empty, and you're like, when did that happen?
Right.
And when that happens, it's like you missed out on the enjoyment of your food.
Yeah.
So if your food didn't satisfy you, guess why you're looking in the pantry for something else to eat 2 hours later?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I switched to being vegan. I've been vegan for 5 years now. And the thing is, there is a lot of healthy food in veganism, but there's also a lot of vegan junk food out there.
Of course.
And so I have found vegan versions of all my favorites. And so you can make a vegan cheesecake out of like nuts and other things. And might be a little bit better in some ways, but it's still a lot of fat and extra carbs and other things. And so there's been times where I've, gone on my emotional eating binges, but on the vegan versions of junk food. And
Even if the food is healthy, it's still, if you eat too much of it, it's still
yeah.
more energy than what your body needs, and it's still going to go to fat. So just
Yeah,
just because
absolutely.
something's healthy doesn't mean you get to overeat on it.
Sorry, my phone's going off. I forgot to.
All right.
Yeah, so you were saying.
No, I was saying just because a food is healthy, you can still overeat it. So it doesn't give you a pass to eat past
Right.
the point where you're satisfied. So that's really the key is we don't want to stop eating because it's so good, but we really have to pay attention to our hunger signals. And like I said, I didn't give up any of my favorite foods. I just gave up stuffing myself until I had to unzip my pants.
That's a great tip, and it's certainly a good way to eliminate that feeling deprived.
Exactly. Yeah, I never felt deprived, and it was a shock to me, let me tell you.
It's a good shock.
Yes. Well, exactly what you said earlier. We're all trained to think that we have to suffer and be miserable in order to lose weight. It has to be hard. If it's not hard, it's not going to work, right?
Right. Yeah.
Not true.
It works better if it's not hard.
Exactly. Yeah, you're more likely to stick with it.
Yeah. So what's the next one?
All right, fourth commandment is stop beating yourself up.
Mm.
When you make mistakes, because you are going to make mistakes, you are going to have bad days, you're going to fall off the wagon. Nobody's weight loss journey is smooth sailing. But when you beat yourself up, it's just another way that we create our own emotional pain. If I'm standing there in the mirror after I just had a binge and I'm telling myself what a loser, what a failure I am, nobody's ever going to love me, all the horrible things that we say to ourselves, it creates so much internal pain. And then how do we soothe our pain? We go to eat something. That's
Yeah.
how we've all been conditioned ever since we were little. It's so critical to stop doing that. So just realize mistakes and bad days, those things are actually required in order
Mhm.
for you to have success at some point, because that's what's going to help you to build the skills and the resilience and the determination to be able to handle it better the next time something like that happens. So we have to, if we keep making the same mistakes over and over again, it's because there's a lesson that we haven't learned.
Mhm.
So it's an important message. It's nothing to beat yourself up over, but you definitely want to look for what am I doing? What could I be doing differently next time? How am I going to handle this the next time it happens? How am I going to level up by even just 1%? So when something goes wrong, take the judgment out of it. Just analyze what happened and make a plan for next time.
That's great. Yeah, I think we can all be our own worst enemies
Of course.
with
Especially as
everything.
women, this is the
Yeah.
society conditions us to do this.
And then social media fuels that. And so when you just give yourself permission to be human and make a nobody's perfect, and whatever you do see on social media is someone's highlight reel. No one's posting
Exactly.
their
An
struggle with
artificial
something.
image. It's been airbrushed, it's been edited, it's not real.
Exactly. No, these are really great tips. I'm looking forward to hearing what the rest of these are.
Okay. Number 5 is don't set yourself up for failure ahead of time.
Mm.
So a lot of times, like we think that we want to start this weight loss journey, but it's somewhere in the back of our head. We're just saying, "Oh, this is going to be so hard. I don't think I can do it. I've never been able to do it before." And then we're afraid of other people's judgment if we fail, right?
Hmm.
We build ourselves this little sneaky emergency escape hatch into our weight loss plan, just so that we can fail with dignity or we can fail without anybody knowing. But the
Mm.
problem with that is that when things start to get a little bit challenging, if you've built yourself an off ramp, you will take it. So you really have to be alert for that kind of thing. And the one thing with me, at least, the one thing that I listen for is this is a big red flag when you hear yourself or anybody else, when you hear somebody say, I'll try,
Yeah.
because that implies that they're already expecting to fail, but they're just going to make a half-hearted attempt just to say that they did it. And I've been guilty of this as well.
Hmm.
So the thing is, if you believe that you can't do something, you will prove yourself right every single time. So here's an example, like a real life example. If you're telling yourself a story that goes something like, I can't lose weight no matter what I do. So one day you're having a stressful day at work and somebody shows up with donuts for the whole office. If you're telling yourself this story that nothing I do is going to matter, I can't lose weight, there's no reason to not eat the donuts. So you go grab a donut, and what happens, you end up proving your belief true. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what we really need to do is to work on creating a new belief that you can lose weight, that you deserve to look and feel the way that you want to, and that you
Hmm.
are willing to commit to keep working at it until you get to where you want to go.
Yeah, and the key is the commitment and the consistency, and the more behavior you do in in a specific way, like you were saying before, like where we are with our weight now is as a result of all our habits and actions that we've done up until this point. And so if you have more of those good days,
Mhm.
it's going to add up.
Absolutely.
And so the again that just shows the power of that mindset. It's another layer to the whole mindset piece. As
Exactly. Yep.
if you believe that you're not going to, you're like, how long can I keep this up for,
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And that kind of bleeds into the next one, number 6, which is not to tell yourself a victim story.
Mm.
So when you are thinking about all the things that you're planning to do to lose weight or start a healthy exercise program or whatever it is that you're going to do, so often there's this little voice in the back of your head going, this sucks. It's so not fair. Everyone else around me gets to eat whatever, and I don't get to eat this anymore. Or you get home at the end of a long day at work, and the boss was nasty to you, and you're telling yourself, I deserve a treat. I had a stressful day. I really deserve something special. So, this is how we make ourselves the victim of our story. And a victim is somebody who has no power of choice. A
Mhm.
victim is somebody who's forced to deal with unfair or unpleasant circumstances that are being inflicted on them. And so, if this is how you're thinking of your new lifestyle, how much it sucks, how much you hate it, how much you can't wait for things to go back to the way they were, you are always going to be setting yourself up for failure because you're always going to be looking for a reason to go back to the good old days. And like you mentioned before, you're building up that resentment and that resistance, and that's going to lead you to rebellion eating. And then you're just going to completely stop trying. And then the weight all comes back. So the more we focus on our negative emotions, the more we are increasing our drive to comfort ourselves with food. So the solution is to redirect your focus onto the positives and the benefits of your new lifestyle. What aspects of it do you enjoy? What,
Mm.
if you're exercising, is it because you think you have to, or is it because you really love it, you enjoy it, it makes you feel strong, or you're building a community of friends and you like to do group activities together? So if you catch yourself saying, I have to, change it to, I want to, or I get to,
Mm.
because it's a privilege to be able to choose what you want to do with your life. Nobody's making you do it. So own your choices and make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, because you want to, because it makes you feel great, and because you enjoy it.
That's really, really great. Yeah, I was going to the gym for a bit and then it got derailed because it's a little bit of a walk. It's like a 25-minute walk to my gym. And there's like really it's very hard to park over there, so it's better to just walk.
Mhm.
But in the wintertime, if it's 20 degrees out, and then I, and then even when the weather's been good, I kind of just was in a rut for a little bit. So today I actually went back to the gym. I was making some excuses with myself and I kind of just, spoke to myself, was like, no, 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 I imagine how I would feel after doing it.
Mhm.
And and allow me to like catch up on some podcasts and which were inspiring in their own way. It helped motivate me with some other things with my business and other stuff. And so having all these positive effects that even went beyond the gym, just catching up with some podcasts and
Right.
having some inspiration on things,
Mhm.
you know, make it fun. Listen to music you enjoy, listen to a
Exactly.
podcast, listen to an audiobook. There's so much that we can do to make it more than just going to the gym.
Yeah. And even after you get home from the gym, spend 5 or 10 minutes just really focusing on how amazing you feel. Just really set that in your emotional memory so that,
Yeah.
that becomes its own reward, and you're much more likely to repeat behaviors that make you feel good, behaviors that get rewarded.
Yeah, absolutely. And also what's helped me with it too is if I prepare for it the night before,
Hmm.
I'm more apt to do it because I have to leave around 6:15, 6:30 in the morning to go do it. So if I leave all my gym clothes out, everything I need for it, and I have it all neatly folded ready for me to go, chances are I'm doing it instead of like fumbling in the dark trying to find everything, trying not to wake up my husband up while I'm trying to
Yep, exactly. You are
gather my stuff.
removing the obstacles between you and what you want to do. So that's
Right,
perfect.
exactly. So that I had no excuse this morning. I was trying to find an excuse, but I had everything prepared. So
Well, you should throw yourself a party because you have shown a lot more commitment than some people. It's so hard to get out of bed when the alarm goes off. You're tired. Maybe you didn't get to bed early enough last night, and you really have to remind yourself of what is the goal that I'm trying to accomplish here. How do I
right.
want to feel at the end of the day?
Yeah, and it definitely boosts your energy. I think with exercise, there's that focus on losing weight. We put all this pressure on ourselves. But going back to what you were saying, how you feel afterwards, I felt great because you feel energized after a workout. You're happy that you did it, but also there's those just the amount of activity that your body just had has those other benefits of feeling well. And when you make it about not losing weight, but
Right.
just how you're feeling and the other benefits with it, the losing weight is just another bonus that comes along with it.
Absolutely. For sure.
Awesome.
All
So what's
right.
the next one? We're up to
Number
number 7 now,
seven.
right?
Yes, number 7, no blaming other people.
Mm.
We want someone to go to the gym with us, or we don't want to go to the gym because we're worried about what everyone there's going to think of us, because we've been hiding all our COVID weight in our sweatpants or whatever.
Yeah.
I've even heard people say, I've been working so hard, I've lost 20 pounds, but nobody's noticed, nobody said anything, so why bother? They're looking
Mm.
for that praise, that recognition from other people. And then there's that little sneaky that desire to have everyone around you change their behavior so that you can be successful. Like, How can my family order pizza and eat it in front of me when they know that I'm trying to lose weight? So, the key here is that nobody else can be responsible for your success or for your setbacks. And you can't expect other people to change their behavior so that you can have everything set up the way you want it. That's just not reality. That's not how the world works. You can't wait around for other people to show up for you to start
Mhm.
creating the life that you want to have for yourself. So, I much prefer to think of it as I'm not waiting for other people to join me. I'm gonna go and do whatever I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna inspire other people to come with me. And if they don't, I'm going anyway.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Like, I'm the only vegan in my household, and I also, trying to be very mindful with what I eat health wise. My mom died of a heart attack in
Or
2007, and there's, a lot of heart disease and diabetes in my family. And, you know, when you get to a certain, when you're 20s, I feel like you can eat a lot more of things. And then all of a sudden you cross into your 30s and 40s and you start,
your 50s.
or 50. But for me, like, I'm 43 and I started to notice an impact food had on my health around 34. Where one time I went to the doctor and all of a sudden I had high blood pressure and I'm like, what?
Oh boy. Yeah.
And I had to like start reducing sodium. I became very mindful of sodium. I started noticing like how sneaky sodium is in everything. And and now that I'm mindful of it, like for example, getting soup out is like one of the you might think it healthy vegetable soup, but soup is like one of the worst things you can get for yourself out. You're better off making it at home because they put way too much salt in there.
Yep.
And so that was like a beginning for me to start looking because I did lose the weight. But this was even though I had lost the weight, now I was starting to have these other repercussions. So there's certain things that I've been trying to be mindful of with food around the house and snacks. And what you were saying, we all eat relatively healthy together, but there's things my husband's gonna eat, my son's gonna eat, my stepsons are gonna eat that I'm not necessarily going to eat, and that's okay. What's helped me with it is having my version of something. Like I have my snacks. I try to have healthier snacks, and then I have my special treats that I have once in a while. And there's a pizza I like to make where it's using chickpea flour, so it's like a better crust. And
Mhm.
then I put a lot of vegetables on it and just a little bit of vegan cheese. So if everyone's having pizza, I'll have my modified
But
pizza.
there's an important thing that maybe you haven't quite focused on. It's great to have alternatives, but what you are doing differently from what a lot of people do is you don't have that expectation that your family is going to
Right.
adopt your habits. And sometimes we don't even realize it, but like I said, when you're angry because your family ordered something out that you can't eat because you're on a diet, it's because they don't love me, it's because they don't care about me, they're trying to sabotage me. There we go again. We're building up that internal sense of resentment and anger and frustration, and that negative pressure of all those crushing destructive emotions are what's going to drive us to want to go for the comfort foods again. So again, it all comes down to finding a better way to talk to yourself, focusing on positive things and not creating your own emotional pain, because you're really going to reduce your desire to go off plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And that putting those expectations on your family or whoever you're living with, sharing space with, they can be resentful if you try and impose your
Absolutely.
stuff
Yeah.
onto them. And so it's trying, everyone being in their own, doing their thing and
Yep.
coexisting while doing their thing.
Like I said, all my relationships got better when I started getting the benefit of the thought work that I learned from my coach, and that's part of the reason why, because I didn't even realize to what extent I was superimposing my expectations on other people.
That's great. Great stuff. These are really, really great tips.
Thank you.
So now we're up to number 8 now, right?
All right, number 8, don't postpone your happiness until you lose your weight.
That's a big one.
A
I
big
know a
one.
lot of
Oh my
people who do
gosh.
this.
Everybody. I mean, people think that they want to lose weight because it's going to make them feel happy and confident and proud of themselves. Well, they don't realize that there's no reason why you can't feel that way right now, no matter what size you are. Because the thing is, there's no magical happiness switch that's just going to flip itself when you finally get to your goal weight. If you have been telling yourself this horrible story about how you're unworthy, you're unlovable, you can't do anything right, you'll still think those things even when you're at your goal weight unless you practice starting right now.
Yeah.
And we become our own worst bullies. And again, this is what creates that emotional pain, completely unnecessary. And how do we deal with our emotional pain? We want to eat. Weight loss does not make you happy. What makes you happy is your beliefs and your thoughts about yourself and how you
Yeah.
live your life. And weight loss, it's the vehicle that you think is going to get you there, but really you can start choosing to think and feel that way at whatever weight you are right now. I'm sure everybody knows somebody who is overweight and is so happy and outgoing and thinks that they're sexy and has no inhibitions whatsoever. It's all in our head. Whatever story we tell ourselves is going to determine how happy we are or not. There are 120-pound supermodels that are completely miserable.
Yeah.
So it starts up here. It starts with what you believe about yourself, and that's a choice. But it's also something that needs practice to change because we've practiced telling ourselves the same stories, the same narratives ever since we were little kids. It's not
Hmm.
going to change overnight. So you have to start working on improving your self-image now so that by the time you are in a smaller body, you haven't brought all those negative feelings of self-hatred with you. And my
Yeah.
advice is if you wouldn't say it to your child, don't say it to yourself.
That's really good advice because there's an inner child in all of us that I didn't even know about inner child work until a few years ago, but there's this inner child part of ourselves that if we're not treating that part of ourselves with respect and care and love, it just spirals. And like you said, it's kind of like I've heard this with money, a different topic, but having more money isn't going to fix your problems. Money makes you more of who you are. So if you're someone who's not responsible with money and you win the lottery, it you're not going to be able to maintain that wealth. And circling back to what you were just saying, whether you're in a skinny body or a non-skinny body, we carry the external things are not going to solve our problems.
Mhm.
And so when we do fix that mindset and work on that mindset piece, it impacts the decision and it impacts the external world when we work on the internal world.
It influences everything you do, every choice you make all day.
Yeah, absolutely. These are great.
Thank you.
So now we're on to number 9.
Number 9, no punishment workouts.
Ah.
Not make up for overeating with exercise. And let me tell you, this idea that I can eat whatever I want as much as I want because I work out more than any 3 people put together, that got me all the way up to 240 pounds.
Wow.
You cannot make up for an overeat with exercise. I actually sat down and figured out a Chick-fil-A deluxe sandwich with medium fries and a small soda would probably take me about ten minutes to eat, maybe less. It has 1,020 calories. If
Whew.
I could sprint at my absolute fastest speed, I would have to continue for 90 minutes without stopping to burn off that many calories.
Wow.
So it's like you were saying before, you should be exercising because you enjoy it, not because you think it's going to burn calories or help you lose weight. Because you can take calories in so much faster than what you can burn them off. Your body is way too efficient for that. And the other thing, I mean, exercise, it should never be a punishment. It's not
Yeah.
something that you should inflict on yourself because you did something wrong. It should be done because it makes you feel good, because you love it, because you get to go and be with all your friends or whatever the reason is, because it makes you feel good. So Don't use exercise to justify an overeat, and don't use it to punish yourself if you had a slip.
Yeah, that's a very important tip, and it ties in, I think, what we were talking about before about things being difficult, making things harder, thinking that anything with weight loss and exercise should be painful.
Exactly, because the last thing you want is to create an association between exercise being something that you dread, and it's only a matter of time before you just stop doing it completely because you think it's a punishment.
Right, right, absolutely. And then now we're on to number 10.
Last one, throwing food away is not a sin.
Hmm.
We have this idea that it's wrong to waste food. And, I catch myself doing this all the time. I have to eat this or it's going to go bad. And, when we were kids, what did our parents tell us? People are
Yeah.
starving in other countries.
Oh, yeah, I got that a lot as a kid.
There's no kid in Africa that's going to get a free meal because you cleaned your plate. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And if you think about it this way, the only real waste of food is when you force your body to convert it to fat and carry it around with you 24/7 because you ate more than what your body needed.
Yeah.
That's a waste of food. So, if you find that you're telling yourself, I need to eat this because it's going to go bad, then just start making a weekly meal plan and only buy what you need to make the food that you need for that week so that you're not feeling pressured to eat all this extra food. Just get less food. Or put it back, you eat half your dinner and put it back in their fridge so you can have it for lunch tomorrow. You're going to save money. Or there's nothing wrong with throwing food away. It's
Absolutely.
just something that we have to get over. So I save that for last because that's my single biggest frustration with people. People feel like they have to clean their plate because that's how they were taught as kids. And there's a lot of social pressure to not throw food away or not waste food. But again, my thing is just flip that and tell yourself a different story. The only waste of food is eating too much.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to piggyback off of that with what you're saying about meal plans, there are some meal plans that I have done for like whole food, plant-based and vegan meal plans where I've ended up buying more vegetables and more food than anyone in my house could possibly consume. And and then having so when you are following a meal plan or you are changing things, you're not going to really know what your experience is with it until you're in it a little bit. And then it's okay to like modify. Like I've modified, like I know what we're going to eat. I know what I can cook and what's going to get finished. And some of my family will eat maybe some of the things I make and maybe not all of it. And so with a lot of trial and error, I guess what I'm getting at with this food thing is there's some trial and error when you're changing how you're eating, how your family's eating, so don't be hard on yourself if you end up throwing out a lot of vegetables. You know what I do now? I buy a lot of frozen vegetables. They're fine.
Yeah.
Because I do a lot of stir fries and a lot of things like that. And I know that if I don't cook it in the week, it's not going to spoil. And so I do a mixture of the frozen veggies and the fresh veggies, and I just don't buy as large a quantity.
Yeah.
And then if I have to go back to the store later in the week, I do. But it's you might have to throw out some things while you're changing the way you eat
Yeah.
because if you're following some type of a meal plan or you're following recipes, it's going to take some trial and error when you're making these changes.
Absolutely. It's a learning process. And here's the other thing, that as you lose weight, you're going to eat less food because it takes less food to sustain a smaller body. So
Yeah.
we kind of have to, readjust every 20 pounds or so. You can't keep buying the same amount of food or preparing the same amount of food that you could when you were 20 pounds heavier now that
Yeah.
now that you're on your way down the scale. So you're constantly readjusting and learning.
Yeah, it's a big learning curve. Well,
Mhm.
these were really, really great and very, very helpful. And what are some ways that we can help ourselves with self-sabotage when that starts
That's
to
a big
creep up?
one. That's a big one. So there are really four main reasons why people engage in self-sabotage. Fear of failure. You know,
Mhm.
we're afraid of everyone's judgment. If I tell everybody that I'm going to go on a diet and then I don't lose weight, what are they going to think of me? And if
Mhm.
you've convinced yourself that bad things are going to happen if you fail, so you don't even want to try. You know, it's that avoiding the risk. That's just part of our basic
Yeah.
programming from the time we were cave people. But there's also a fear of success. You know, if I lose weight, will I have loose skin? Will my friends not want to hang out with me anymore because I don't want to go out to eat all the time? Will my husband still love me? You know, there could be negative consequences for actually achieving the thing that you think that you want. So on a subconscious level, if those consequences are really negative and enough of a deterrent, you'll sabotage yourself so that you don't succeed, so that you avoid that. Lack of belief, like I was saying before, oh, I've never been able to lose weight before. No matter what I do, it doesn't seem to make a difference. So why even bother trying?
Yeah.
And then the biggest one is that lack of self-worth. Like I don't deserve to be in this body that I'm picturing. I'm worthless. I'm never going to be good enough. That's for other people, but that's not something that I can have. Such a destructive message to tell ourselves, but so many of us do it, and we don't even realize it.
Oh yeah. I've certainly been guilty of it. When I didn't become aware of these things myself until I was being trained as a coach. Like I
Same.
w
Yeah.
wanted to get a coaching certification, and I ended up realizing what my own stuff was. I was
Yep.
taking on a whole other level. I was like, oh,
Yep. But until you start to get that insight, it's so frustrating because you're like, why do I keep doing this? I don't understand. I want to lose weight so
yeah.
bad. Why am I on the couch with a bucket of ice cream every night? So yeah, it really it took me a good 3 years of daily journaling and
Mm.
really digging into the beliefs and the thoughts and all that tangle of negative emotions that I had just balled up inside, unraveling that layer by layer to finally realize why I was doing some of these things.
Yeah, and we didn't get to where we are overnight. It's
Oh,
been decades of programming that all started from our childhoods and then just spiraled from there. So
yeah,
we have to learn to be patient with ourselves.
yes.
And like you said, it's a process. Um, great. So before we wrap up, what are some resources that you would like to recommend to others?
I think probably the best book that I've ever read on the topic of habit change is called Atomic Habits by James Clear.
That's a
I
good
try,
book.
oh my gosh, I try to read this book at least once a year because I
Mhm.
always I always find something new in it that I didn't catch before. I'm constantly building on a foundation that I've built. Sometimes you get so much information if you don't really have a foundation of understanding, you can't really absorb all of it. So it's good to kind of come back and refresh on it as often as possible. But I have this book on audio. I listen to it at least once or twice a year. So I also, if I could offer, I just finished work on a 14-day challenge
Oh,
where
nice.
if people are interested, they can sign up on my website and they will get a video from me every day for 14 days, teaching them a new element of how to make habit change sustainable. So that's on my website if people are interested, and that the address is nolimitscoachingnow.com.
Okay, great. And I'll also put that in the notes below this video so you can find it easily. All right, Natalie, this was so great. Is there any other ways that people can connect with you besides your website?
Absolutely. So they can email me directly from my website, but I also have a Facebook group called Live Without Limits.
Oh,
And so, they can message me in there. I post videos. So if you want to be the first to see my new video that comes out every week, I would go to my Facebook group, and you can also connect with other people that are kind of all on the same journey together.
sounds like a great supportive community. Awesome. All right, yeah, so I'll include all of that in the notes below. Natalie, this was great. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with
Thank
us
you so much for
today.
having me. It's been great. I really enjoyed having the use of borrowing your platform.
No, I appreciate you coming here to talk with us. So, all right, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. And I'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.